Hey everybody, it's Trixie. Welcome to the Underground. I was away this weekend. Anything going on? Another war. Trump just killed the Ayatollah, which not a good guy. You know, women weren't allowed to do much. So I know he's bad, but remember what happened when Bush went into Iraq and had that mission accomplished banner? You know, that's another thing. Saddam was bad too. How many bad guys? There's a lot of them. What are we going to do? Go around just displacing leaders? And what if somebody does that to us? You know, after we killed Saddam, Al Qaeda came in, ISIS came in. You know, worse. At least he had all those warring factions at bay because he wasn't religious. Now these guys, they are terrible. They are terrorists, and I know Israel's been trying to kill their nuclear scientists for years. When I was in radio, they had Mossad ride by on motorcycles, bing, 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 and all their. Why couldn't they just do that? This guy had nothing to do with that. I mean, get the scientists. That's who's making the bombs. I just think you got to be careful because look at, you know, they were saying, oh yeah, they killed the protesters. So did we. They were doing facial recognition. You know, ICE was copping down using that and license plate numbers to get people's addresses and names. And, you know, telling them they're going to be put on a domestic terrorist watch list for just being at the protests. I mean, I remember I worked with some guy and he said his father was in the Justice Department for years. And he said, you know what? Our government is no better than anyone else's. And I'm like, are you crazy? You know, but I guess he had information I don't have. And I don't know anything about the Middle East. All I know is they've been fighting for a long time. And I don't like Netanyahu. His own people are putting him up on corruption charges. And Trump's trying to get out of the Epstein files. I was watching The View and they interrupted. Elizabeth Hasselbeck was bragging about, oh, China's got control of the oil. Why is it always about oil? That's what the Persian Gulf War was. Over oil? Are you kidding me or what? Imminent threat. Imminent threat. Okay. So Trump's talking, right? And talking about how we need to get rid of this guy, which the guy's, I'm not going to say he's good. He's not a good guy. Yeah, I hear they're trying to recruit Jane Fonda to take his place. What do you think? They're not going to get another far-right guy? And that's their choice. It's the Iranians' choice. You know, you think they're going to pick a female or a liberal? I doubt it. So he's talking during the press conference, and I want to tell you about my weekend because I don't want to go off on politics. You know what he said? See that nice drape? Are you kidding me? He's referring to what's behind him, the drapes. Reminding me of Nurse Diesel in High Anxiety. Oh, yes. He was going to change the drapes in the psychotic game room. I mean, are you kidding me? And then he's like, I'll save money on the doors. I always liked gold. He's going off on this. This is crazy. He's talking about war with Iran and then talking about drapes. What a lunatic. And then he's saying we can save on the curtains. So I'm sorry to laugh because it's not funny. This is our leader. They said it would take 9 years for Iran, and Iran's been trying to get a nuclear weapon for a long time, and I don't think Israel's ever going to let them. But anyway, say okay, we're worried about that. I get it. Imminent threat. They said it would take 9 years for Iran to get a bomb that would reach our country. 9 years. This is imminent threat. Think of another lie. That one's not working. So yesterday, I was at a home show all weekend. It was like, I don't really want to go to Northborough, Massachusetts again because the people were out of their effing minds. But anyway, in the middle of it, this lady, and she's very loud. She doesn't know how to talk on the loudspeaker. And she's like, attention, vendors and customers. There's a black knapsack in front of the building. It made me scared, like, oh my God, Boston Marathon bombers. That's coming up because that was happening, what, in April 2013, right? Because one of my friends went there, stuck in Boston during the bombing. That kind of makes me mad because I said, oh my God, there's a bomb. Of course, I couldn't talk like that. Okay, I had the weirdest dinner with, we were across from us. The vendor across from us was a guy that I used to work with when I used to work for a kitchen company. That's how we met. We're not friends, but then he came to work with us here at the company I'm with now, and he's with another company. So he's having a beer. We have a 25-year-old waitress waiting on us. He wanted to go to this restaurant with like a pub, like whatever. So I'm like, fine. These baby men I was with, I wanted to go to an Italian place. But anyway, so I start the camera rolling. How long have you been married? It's like I turn into a a newscaster. How long have you been married? And he said 28 years. So I went to work. I'm like, is it true? I've heard this from a lot of men, not women, men. Don't know if women feel this way, but the men say after a long time of being married, it's like going to bed with your sister. I don't know how they even compare that. Did you go to bed with your sister? But anyway, so I asked him about it. Is it true? It's like going to bed, having sex with your sister. And he says, I don't have sex with her. So that opened up a new can of worms. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have sex? He goes, well, I don't even get touched. I go, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't get touched? She won't hold his hand. She won't kiss him. And I said, well, go back to the time when you had good sex. And he's like, never. I go, what do you mean? Before you got married, you didn't have good sex. He goes, we didn't have sex before we were married. I'm like, what? I've never met anybody like this. I'm like, what a nice guy. He waited till they got married. But, he should have known, because he said that he was doing like a reenactment of what she was like when he was, going in. And this is what he said. That's what she looked like. I'm like, it didn't make me feel bad that I was alone. He used the word starvation. I said, that's a very good word. Starvation. I was like, is she a lesbian? Because then she started talking about lesbians and stuff. And I'm like, well, if she won't touch you, she didn't really want to have sex with you ever. I mean, could she just be someone? There are lesbians in the closet, because I know I'm friends with, where their husbands, this is a thing now. Men sleeping in the basement. That'll be another podcast, because I'm going on and on. But I just can't believe, I don't want to be put in the basement. That's why I like being, this is my home. No one's going to throw me in the basement. There is no basement here anyway. Okay. A YouGov poll found that 3/4 of women don't know menopause can trigger new mental illness. Am I mentally ill? I have anxiety. That's a mental illness, isn't it? 28% know this. So most women don't know they're nuts. So perimenopause, women in perimenopause are twice as likely to develop bipolar. I don't want to be bipolar. Sometimes I do shop a lot. I've got the highs, the manic. Because I talked to a psychiatrist once. She goes, no, we don't treat people like you. My phone's ringing. We don't treat people like you. I said, I don't have lows, And she goes, we don't treat because bipolar is like two polar opposites. I'm sorry, the phone's ringing, guys. So I just have the manic part. Anyway, 30% become clinically depressed. Jeez, man, this is a lot of women. No wonder men are like, I'm going in the basement. They probably want to go in the basement. The hormonal physical changes can trigger eating disorders. You know what? I eat crazy. I got to tell you, I eat and I don't know that I'm full. And I'll finish eating something and I'll go eat something else. So maybe it's just a replacement for sex, because I don't have that. And suicide rates are higher. Well, they're like the tortoises who go off the cliff rather than have sex with men. You guys got to tone it down a little bit. So I just want to talk about the Traitors for a minute. Rob double-crossed Eric and won the game. I knew he was going to win because he was a snake. Candace was right. He was a snake. A snake. And he won. That snake won $220,000. Taylor Swift likes the Traitors. Donna Kelsey was on the reunion and she was saying that. So on page 666 of the New York Post, Lisa Rinna said she may have been drugged at the Traitors premiere party in January. Colton Underwood, the gay guy that was on The Bachelor, he noticed she was wobbling or whatever, and she didn't really have that much to drink. He was one of the smart players. They got rid of him. But he noticed she was quote, completely inebriated at the party, even though she hadn't drank that much. And he told her team who took her out of the party. And they weren't friends, obviously, because Lisa talked about stalking or something. I know he had a restraining order when he was, I don't know why he was stalking a woman when he was gay, but he used to be pretending straight. And they had the party at the Abbey. Remember that with Vanderpump Rules with Tom Sandoval and Raquel? They went to the Abbey and started dancing and all that. But anyway, that's why I thought that was interesting. Colton's like, I want to take you hostage. And she said, that's an interesting, it's interesting. I want to take you hostage, saying that to Lisa when he's been caught stalking his ex. And she said she wanted to slit his effing throat. Oh my God, nice people. She labeled Colton as a stalker for his restraining. Man, these guys are like dackers going in and out. I guess his ex, Cassie Randolph, got a restraining order accusing him of stalking and harassing her. I just don't understand why you're stalking and you're gay and you don't know you're gay. And that stuff is really beyond what I can comprehend that you don't know you're gay. Okay, so Lisa Rinna's got a book. You better believe I'm going to talk about it. What is she going to say? I guess she just started talking to Andy Cohen because I guess he released her text messages without telling her. That's kind of, I don't like that about him. I'm starting to not like him so much. So Trump was drafting an executive order to give himself sweeping powers by declaring a national emergency. Here we go, ahead of the midterms over voting. Of course, he knows he's going to get creamed. So the Constitution does not give federal government powers over elections. It's for states. But like I said before, he doesn't respect states' rights. We should get the Constitution and make toilet paper out of it because that's what they're doing. Hillary Clinton testified for 6 hours behind closed doors. She was so funny when she came out and she said, I don't know how many times I had to say, I don't know Jeffrey Epstein, never met him. And she was so funny. She's so good at answering questions. They were asking her, well, how do you feel that your husband was in a hot tub with a woman? And she goes, I'm not here to talk about my feelings. She probably threw something at him when he got home. But then they questioned her about Pizzagate, where they said Democrats were eating babies, right? They said Hillary ate babies. And aliens. Boy, they're Republicans. Woo! You guys are something, man. You're getting to the bottom of what really affects my life. She said it was very repetitive, asking the same questions over and over. Lauren Boebert released a photo of her to some Benny Johnson, that right-wing podcaster, violating the rules. Whatever. Not the worst thing you can do. But Bill then testified, I did not have sex with that woman. I do not know that woman in the hot tub that I was probably sleeping with after. So first I got the White House emails, right? Then they sold my email to rightwing.org. Do you know what I'm getting now? Ammo. They're sending me Full Metal jackets. I do not own a gun. I don't know who's going to email me next. Sade nominated for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Pink and everybody else. Yeah. I love her. I hope she comes back. I see her once every 10 years. Okay, guys. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Still good. They showed PK on FaceTime with their daughter, Phoenix. And very matter of fact, very distant, devoid of emotion, which I guess is okay. It's better than trying to kill each other. Oh my God, leave me alone, you guys. Until Dorit was throwing F-bombs at the producers. Dorit, Kyle, Rachel Zoe went shopping in the Hamptons. Dorit spent I'm so sorry that I have this. There's no way I can stop this because I locked my cat in the room and it's in there. It'll end in a minute. Dorit went shopping in the Hamptons, spending $4,500 in one store. That's worse than me. I'm not that bad. I spent it in a few places like Nantucket and Chatham. And the card didn't go through. So she was saying it was a fraud alert, but she is having money issues. So I don't know. But I guess she used another credit card. That's embarrassing. Sorry. You got another credit card with $5,000. Jennifer Tilly was back on it. Thank God. Because she provides so much excitement and honesty that we don't really get. She said she remembered when Sutton was married, and she said she saw cracks in Sutton's marriage as they tried to present it as perfect, which a lot of people do that. Do you ever see people going overboard? I have the greatest husband, and all that, and they're cheating. So he's going to marry somebody else, and it's Sutton, one of Sutton's good friends. Oh my God, it sounds like Shania Twain. Remember that with what's his face, Mutt Lange? But she heard about it from her son. I'll tell you, this is why I try to shield myself, because you think you know somebody, you're sleeping with them, you don't know anything, I don't. She says, I don't know. Erica was in a therapy session with her therapist, and she has chocolate cake after to reward herself. She has a $10 million tax bill, a $25 million lawsuit. That's $35 million. I don't know how much she makes on Real Housewives, but no wonder she was crying during the therapy session. So she was saying, I'm waiting for all this to be okay. You can't do that, because life will never be okay, especially as you get older. Did you see all that menopause stuff I was saying? As you get older, it's worse. Then you got to deal with disease and vaginal dryness. Anyway, the laundry will never be done. Bills will never be paid. It's just downhill. Enjoy yourself in your 20s and 30s, because after that, when you hit 50, forget it. Kyle met Rachel's parents. She felt sad because she doesn't have Her mother died of cancer, and I get that because I think about my father not seeing anything, and you kind of want. My mother's 89. I'm like, Ma, you can't die, and you just want. I call my mother over stupid things, like, did you see what happened on General Hospital, and you know, I kind of pay my mother, here, sew my clothes, give her $20 an hour. Anyway, Kyle was frustrated. Dorit didn't come down to meet the parents right away. She had to find like a perfect dress that was home. They were like not leaving the house. I don't. Dorit's self-absorbed, perpetually always late. A guy, Kyle shared this story. A guy handed Kyle a note to ask her to take a shower with him. Okay, at the airport. I had one of those things happen. I was seeing somebody. I was young, in teens, and I was seeing somebody, and her best friend. Like, I was taking a shower at her house because we were laying in the sun. My girlfriend wasn't there. She opened the door and was naked. I didn't have sex with her because I was like, are you kidding me? I was in love with someone else. And why are you doing that to your best friend? That's the only thing I can talk about with that. Rachel talked about screwing this model 4 years into her relationship before she was married. She told the guy, and then he proposed to her. And then you see Kyle going, what are you setting? What kind of marriage are you setting yourself up for? Just let me go at the State of the Union for a couple minutes. Trump came in the room. His hair was orange, sticking up. It was very weird. Like, someone should have said, honey, let me kind of pat that down. It looked very bad. I think he shook Amy Coney Barrett's hand, which is good because she looked horrified. John Roberts didn't look, they look like they're scared or something. And then there's this guy, I don't know his name, black people, holding up a sign, black people aren't apes. Okay. And right into the guy who had the Trump tie on. It's just, I'm sorry, but it's funny. It's funny. Started screaming through half it was like 2 hours. How long was that thing? It was like almost 2 hours. I had to shut it off after an hour and a half. I had enough. He was complaining, calling the Democrats crazy because they didn't stand up because, is it the first duty of the government to protect United States citizens over illegal aliens? It was all bull crap anyway. And that during Biden, the Republicans wouldn't stand up during basic things that everybody should agree with. And so he just can't handle it that someone doesn't like him. If you want to be liked, maybe be a little bit nicer. I don't know what to say. But screaming. That's all I remember. Screaming through, I don't know what they gave him or whatever to stay awake. He bragged about taking people off SNAP benefits. And Republicans are like this. As Mike Dickless Johnson was behind him clapping and JD screwing the couch Vance. Disgusting. They did clap once. I think that the Dems did clap once when Trump called them out for not voting for the big ugly bill, which cuts I think it cuts Social Security even more, which I just read it's going to run out in 6 years. That's when I'm going to retire, for crying out loud. You're going to tell me there's nothing? I'll be climbing the Capitol. I don't know. But, I called out the Supreme Court for their ruling on tariffs. They sat stone face. I couldn't really sit there and, as he's abusing me, I'm the type that a guy would make a face. I couldn't just I would roll my eyes or something. He claimed he was bringing down healthcare costs. Really? You want to see my bills? No, you're not. It's like David Copperfield. Yeah, you don't see any bills. The Trump RX, he was talking about prices being 600% lower. We've already talked about there's no such thing. And he said he will protect Social Security, which he's cutting it. That's how he does it. And Medicare. Yeah, 70%. We're going to get 70% of our, I think 72%. Woo! I want 100%. I worked my ass off all these years. What else happened? Executive order to stop Wall Street from, I kind of like this, from gobbling up homes on people by paying in cash, no inspections. I saw that $1 million listing. So if he actually does this stuff, but he did say he was going to take out pharmacy benefit managers and never did. He warned if the Democrats get power, aliens will come kill your children. So nothing about Epstein, nothing about ICE, which good because he knows that people aren't going to forget. He said, about immigrants. He was just going on and on about that. Dem should be ashamed for not standing up. What else happened? Talking about transgender and had somebody in the audience. It would have embarrassed me if I was that girl that she was trying to change into a man. She looked like a woman. I don't know if she was before transitioning or whatever, but it was crazy. That part I thought was weird. He said we're bringing back religion. Religion. He hates immigrants. He hates Democrats. He hates trans people. That's kind of anti-religious, anti-Christ, using victims as props. What else? Yeah, I couldn't stand. Nancy Pelosi gave on CNN the alternative version. She said it was a manifesto of lies. You murdered Americans. You should be ashamed. She said it was like hardly noticeable. He destroyed our democracy. I just think she's funny. Amanda Carpenter was on The View. I kind of like her. I didn't know she was suing the Department of Homeland Security because, again, I mentioned this earlier. In Maine, ICE was scanning people's faces, what they did in Iran. License plates to get names and addresses, telling them that they were going to be put on a domestic terrorist list. Fox and Friends said Canada was practically communist now. I mean, I bet you these blondes that are on there don't even know what a dictator or communists are. He scorched hold on, I'm not going to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. I got to be more organized. Let me see. What else? Oh, Trump wants to sign an executive order to force banks to collect citizenship data. I'm scared of this stuff. What is this? Who? I think Stephen Miller's got to be behind all this. Let's get all your data, for sinister reasons. I just don't understand. Republicans are supposed to be for no big government, and this is the biggest government ever. Don't know who he's going to bomb next week, you guys. Thank you for listening. Sorry about the phone. I will have to disconnect it next week, but it's never happened before in 2 years. All right, love you. Bye.